Unsolved Mysteries. We haven't been here in a while, but we're gonna do a final appeals case today. We got some Nickelback on in the background. I haven't done this in a while. This is a live show, so bear with me if I'm a little off. This is the final appeal of Scott Peterson. He has been in news recently. They are trying to say that he's not guilty of the crime that he did. And if you're unfamiliar with it, I will take you back to the crime that he committed. He married Laci Peterson in 1998. And if you're unfamiliar with the show, I draw a picture of the culprit or victim sometimes while I'm telling you their story, all at the same time. So he married Laci Peterson in 1998. When they met each other, they were college sweethearts, I believe. And they had tried to move away from their family and stuff and try to make it on their own, but when they got married in 1998, they came back to Modesto, California, which is where the crime was committed and where their family was. So we're going to draw Scott how he is today. This is what he looks like behind bars, in my opinion, where he belongs. But so when they got married, he worked for a European fertilizer company, and he was a fertilizer salesman. And Laci was a substitute teacher. Everything was like a storybook romance with these two. And oh, hi everybody. I didn't even notice you there. I'm too busy drawing here. So they had, like, everybody said they were perfect for each other, and they never got into fights. They were the cutest, perfect couple in the world, and all their friends just couldn't believe how perfect this new guy was here that came into Laci's life. Scott Peterson, he was Mr. Wonderful, is what one of the in-laws was quoted on saying he was. Mr. Wonderful. Which is like, it's funny to me because in actuality he's the furthest thing from Mr. Wonderful. I think he's actually could be worse than Ted Bundy. I mean, this guy is evil. This guy, for those of you that are buying into this garbage that he's not guilty and the LA Innocence Project is on to something, I mean, this is just a bunch of nonsense, if you ask me. So his final appeal, which is this case, is that's what the topic is. My opinion that it is complete horse manure, horse fertilizer. That's what he should have been selling, but it's total horse manure. But this is what the LA Innocence Project says, and we're going to elaborate on that more. This is really annoying. My picture keeps, on my iPad, it keeps changing, and it's annoying. But so, they were married, and everything was sunshine and rainbows until about 2002. This is when Scott had begun an affair with a massage therapist named Amber Fry, and Laci had gotten pregnant with a due date of February 10th, 2003. Now, he met the massage therapist in November of 2002, and she was due to birth this child in February 2003. So,
doesn't that cloud look like a puffin?
Yeah, like orange.
Could have been, people say that probably was his motive for what he did. And so Laci's father reported Laci missing at 5:47 p.m. And they were, as a couple, they were financially unstable. We should point that fact out too in the beginning here. He had a salesman job, and she had a substitute teaching job, and both those jobs do not pay. They don't pay that much, and they were living in a really pretty nice, cute little neighborhood. I mean, it's not, it wasn't a gated community or anything like that, but they were living above their means. Do you know what I mean? So Mr. Scott was, this is really annoying. The picture keeps going off. I don't know why it's doing that. But anyway, like I said, I haven't been on for months, so I'm a little rusty. So Laci's father reported Laci missing at 5:47 p.m. And that's another odd thing. That why didn't Scott report it? Like, he had her father report it for him. This is the beginning of all of Mr. Scott's weird and bizarre behavior. This is just the tip of the iceberg, guys. So he reported them missing, and the police started their investigation. Here is what they found. Laci was watching TV in the morning, and he said, Mr. Scott said that they were watching Martha Stewart, and they were watching something about making marmalade. And Mr. Scott said he watched it with her until he started his plans for that day, which was Scott's claim is when he last saw her, she was preparing to walk their dog, a golden retriever, Mackenzie, at a nearby park. And Scott then left after that to go fishing. He had said that this was a spur of the moment decision, but evidence later showed that he had reserved a license ticket for that very day. So if it was a spur of the moment thing, why are you going a couple of days later, a couple of days earlier, I should say, and reserving a ticket, a license, a fishing license for that area, which is 90 miles away, I might add. 90 miles away from where you live. You're going to take a boat that you just wanted to get out on the water and test it out because you never took the boat out before. You're going to go 90 miles an hour or 90 miles away on 90 miles away to well, I guess I'm going to get flagged for copyright. I thought these were instrumentals. But he's going 90 miles away to test out this boat. And it was just a spur of the moment thing. This is what he wants you to believe. This is the kind of cockamamie stories this guy comes up with on a regular basis. I mean, he is a pathological liar, in my opinion. You can't believe a word the guy says. And by the way, the affair, this was not his first rodeo with the affair. He had done it 4 other times in the past. Will you stop doing that? That's annoying. The picture on my computer keeps like changing sizes. So he had done it 4 times in the past. Habitual womanizer. And I believe the motive was he didn't want to be a dad. He didn't want anything to do with fatherhood. He had a new toy, an Amber Fry, and he wanted to play with that new toy. He wanted to get rid of the old toy, which was Laci Peterson. So Scott then left the house and went to a warehouse of the company he worked for, the fertilizer company. And he did some research on the internet, and he answered a few emails, and he departed with the boat at 11:15 a.m. and arrived at the Berkeley Marina around 12:54, a little bit before 1. So he left around 11 and got to the Berkeley Marina a little bit before 1 to do some fishing at Brooks Island, which was 90 miles away from his house. And he wants you to believe that this was just on a whim. This was just a carefree day, and his wife is going to stay home, who is 8 months pregnant. He's going to leave her there all alone and go on a little boat excursion 90 miles away. This is just his strange behavior and his strange way of going about things. This is not how a normal married man who's waiting to be a father would act. But that doesn't mean that he was a murderer in the defense attorney's eyes for the Innocence Project. He, not too long after this, said he gave up, and because it was rainy and cold. This is all strange behavior. He returned home between 4:40 and 5 p.m. Oh, this is so annoying. I don't know why you're doing this, Mr. Computer. So this is all strange behavior. And around 5:17, he called Laci's parents. He didn't call her. Let's point that out too, right here. He did not call her. Wouldn't you call the person that's missing on their phone? I mean, he knew she had a phone. And he knew he couldn't find her. Yet he decided to call her folks. It makes absolutely no... It's not... Common sense tells you... So he calls them at 5:17 in the afternoon that there was no sign of Laci anywhere. Now, the police said that there's no sign of forced entry in the Peterson home and no blood or nothing was disrupted. Nothing. No gunshot residue. And in the Peterson home, Laci's purse was found with her keys still in it. And I believe her cell phone was put... somebody put it in the car. It was found in her car. And so he would have found that out if he would have called her, because he would have heard it probably ringing. And he'd be like, oh, well, she's not here, but her phone is here. This is if he was a normal, non-psychopathic murderer, I'm saying. It's hypothetical, if. Police soon found out he was having an affair, his fifth one, I should point out, and engaged in, it says 2 previous affairs, but I heard 4 previous affairs, and I'm going to go with the latter. So, previous affairs he has engaged in. 2 weeks before Laci disappeared, he told his Amber, his side piece. She wasn't a mistress, because a mistress knowingly participates in infidelity. She had no idea. She fell for Scott's lies, just like a lot of people do, because he's an excellent liar. He's an excellent pathological liar. That's his talent. That's what he's good at. And he's good at chasing skirts. So he told Amber Fry that his wife had died, and it's the first holiday season that he's been without her. So poor Scott. Then he wants you to feel sorry for him. This is poor little old Scott has to spend the holidays without his wife because she had died. But he didn't tell her that he killed her. He left that part out. And on April 13th, 2003, about 4 months after the cops have first started doing the investigation, the body of infant Connor. Now, remember, Laci was 8 months pregnant, and she had a due date of February 2003. So if Scott would have just not killed her, she would have been having the baby and they would have been a happy family, but he did not want that. His past is a sordid past too. It's strange. I understand that his parents had other children, but I'm not clear on how they got the children, but they dumped the children. I know that. They got rid of the children and they kept Scott as their only child. And he was referred to as the golden boy by his own parents. So he could do no wrong. He never did any wrong. And anything that he did do, Mommy and Daddy got him out of. So he was very spoiled and privileged and entitled at an early age. So the body of the infant was found near the Brooks Island, which is where Scott went to go fishing. Very strong circumstantial evidence, by the way. The next day, Laci's body was found about a mile from where his son's body was found. Now, with the conditions of the bodies were, Laci's was very decomposed and this basically was a torso. And the infant's was in relatively good shape. So the way they tried to spin a lot of stuff saying that, Scott couldn't have killed it because it was in such good shape when they found it. It was in pristine condition. He couldn't have killed the baby, but he did kill the baby because he killed her, and she had the baby in the uterus, and it protected it like a cocoon through all the harsh elements of the San Francisco Bay. I don't know if you ever laid down in a bay underwater, but you're going to go through a lot of debris and a lot of animal, a lot of, what you call it, a lot of predators are going to be after you, and there's just going to be a lot of churning and swishing around, and force is going to be ripping you apart. And she basically came out of those anchors that Scott had her fastened to, but the uterus still had that little cocoon in there, and it kept that baby safe until finally the uterus just was the last thing to go. And then so they got separated while they were freed from the anchors that Scott had put on them. So And that's why the baby was found in such good condition. Of course, it was dead, but it had a lot less wear and tear on it than Laci's body. And that is the reason why. That is all explained very easily. But if you listen to the attorneys for the Innocent Project and all that nonsense, you're going to go down a path that's not true. In fact, it's the opposite of truth. The truth is, this guy did not want to be a dad. He didn't want to be bothered with the constraints of fatherhood. So Laci's body was found about a mile away from where her son's body was found. On April 18th, Scott was arrested, and on him the police found survival gear, $15,000, 4 cell phones, camping equipment, his brother's license, his brother's driver's license, and his driver's license, and 12 Viagra pills. And he had his brother's license because the way he altered his appearances was he dyed his hair and he grew a goatee. And he kind of resembled his brother in the picture when he altered his appearance. That's the way they found him, with all that stuff on him and a goatee and dyed blonde hair. So all things lead to him wanting to run. Seemed like this guy was preparing to run to Mexico, and where he was, I think it was Santa Fe, and that's not far from the Mexican border. So, to the untrained person, you would say this guy's getting ready to flee. This was obviously an escape attempt. He was found guilty of 2 murders in 2004, and he was sentenced to death. Now, he didn't get sentenced to death, though, because he got out of it by some kind of juror error. One of the jurors didn't want to. They have to have a unanimous decision on the death penalty, and one of the jurors changed their mind, so he got spared, but he got a reduced sentence to life in prison without possibility of parole, which I think is the worst. Even though he is in a jail where he gets to play basketball every day for an hour, he gets all his meals for free, and he has a roof over his head, but he still has to stare at those walls 23 hours a day and just reflect on what he has done, the unspeakable, monstrous things that he has done. But then again, I think that maybe he doesn't think he did anything wrong at all, because he probably believes his own lies. He is a pathological liar, and that's what pathological liars do. They believe their own lies. So, but anyway, even if he believes he's innocent, he's still like, what the F, man? Why am I in here? So he gets to think that 23 hours of the day, 7 days a week, 365. So I am happy of the place where he's at. I think he got what he deserved. definitely deserve rotting in a prison. And his death sentence was overturned in 2020, about 5 years ago. And in 2021, he was resentenced to that life in prison without parole sentence. So now in 2024, this is where we get to now why I'm doing this show is because the LA Innocent Project is getting involved now. A year ago, they said they found new evidence. The jurors said that Scott's demeanor had a huge influence on their verdict of finding him guilty. And yes, I can definitely see that. He acted cold, callous, a combination of arrogant and politeness, which I don't know how you pull that off, but he did. He was arrogant but polite. So however way you do that, he did it. He definitely pulled that off. Even Amber Fry recorded Scott on tape admitting to horrible things on the phone, where they used this in court to convict him. So once Amber Fry came into the picture, his goose was cooked, in so many words. And, when the police were interrogating him, he offered non-committal answers to most of the questions. And he did say he was going to take a lie detector test the very first day they interviewed him, and then said he would, but then he never did it. The next day came and went. He didn't do it. Said he talked to his father, and his father told him not to do it. A homemade concrete anchor was found in Scott's boat, and police found evidence that he made several other ones with the concrete residue in the warehouse. Several other concrete anchors. So this was all to weight Laci's, probably the torso and the arms and the legs down. Well, this was the one anchor was found in Scott's boat without a rope, and what he said was why it was in there was because it was an anchor, but it had no rope tied around it. So what good is an anchor without a rope tied to it? So he claimed to the police that he used the rest of that on his driveway. The rest of the bags of concrete that he bought.
No pouring seeds in this house. Right, Mom?
He was caught by the cell phone pings, making several trips back to the marina, back and forth, staying just a couple minutes, and then he would leave. They used his cell phone pings to track his whereabouts before Laci's body was found, but after she went missing. So he was tracked by the cell phone pings before she was found and after she was missing, of him going back and forth to that marina, which is strange. Laci's body was found, but after, I mean, a strand of hair on a pair of pliers was wrapped around the needle nose pliers. This was found in Scott's boat. It revealed to belong to Laci, but later they ruled that out because it was not con- it was not consistent and didn't hold up in court. So he was arrogant, irritated, and detached in the courtroom. There is an explanation to the hair evidence. A witness said they had seen Laci in the warehouse containing the boat prior to her disappearance. Where were all these witnesses at the time of the trial in 2002 and 2003? That's what I ask. The hair may have not even belonged to Laci. The test was unreliable, used to find that hair. About 20 witnesses say they saw Laci in the neighborhood after Scott had left for his fishing trip. Now, this is the whole deal of the Innocence Project. They're basing their whole case on this. That witnesses say they saw Laci. But here's the counter to that. A lot of women that have dark hair were living in Modesto, California at that time, and they walked their dogs. So none of these witnesses can 100% say that that was Laci, and a lot of them have came forward and were found to be not Laci. That they mis they got the mistake. They made a mistake. It was a There was another pregnant lady actually walking around, walking her dog at the same time, and this is probably the way you would explain this. Is there's other women that walk dogs, you know, and there's Laci was not a unique looking person. From behind she would look like any other person. Brown hair, small, petite, with child, and she didn't really show that much either. I've seen pictures. She didn't show that much. And also there was a burnt out van found with a mattress stained with blood, but they were not able to test that blood because they just didn't catch it back then. They dropped the ball on that. That may be the only credible thing in this defense of Scott Peterson, is that burnt out van and that mattress with what looked like blood stains on it. They don't even know for sure if it was blood stains. It could have been rust. But that's not what they'll have you think. After Scott had left for his fishing trip, they say they're still, and many said she was walking the dog. Before crime occurred, there was a mysterious individual knocking on doors asking for money. It looked like he was casing out the place. Also, they're trying to say that the burglars took Laci, kidnapped her for a while, and then got her to talk, got her to tell them where her husband went, and then they went all the way down 90 miles away. They dumped that body, her body, which was Laci's body. They dumped it in the bay where she was found, just to frame Scott. That's ridiculous. If they were gonna frame Scott, they wouldn't have went through all the extra time to weight the body down. The body would have floated up way sooner, but it was weighted down, so that's why it took 4 months. There's no criminal's going to do that. They're not going to weight a body down to frame someone. They're just going to let the body dump it out and let it float up on purpose where Scott was and say, look what floated up. And he was there last. They're not going to weight it down. It takes 4 months to come back up. That's ridiculous. Yeah, I'm having technical problems here. We haven't done this in a while, folks. A burglary occurred in the same street where Laci disappeared near the same time, but the burglars say it didn't happen the same time. And also, they wanted to take a lie detector test because they knew they were going to jail, and they didn't want the other guys in the jail knowing that they killed a baby and a mother. They were more than happy to take that lie detector test and parade it around the jail because they knew they were going down for robbery. I believe that this was just a coincidence. One theory says burglars killed Laci to get rid of the witnesses and then dumped her in the same place that Scott was to frame him. Like I said, I just went through that, suggesting that Laci talked before she was killed. I have that could be possible, but I don't. Now that I think about it, it's almost impossible. What? Yeah, the criminals would have to be really stupid to go through all that to keep the body down, hidden for 4 months, just to frame this guy. On December 30th, 2002, a watch matching the description of one that Scott said that Laci was wearing the day that she disappeared was sold at a pawn shop. Now, this is the only thing that I can't explain that. So they might have a point there. That's the only thing I'm giving them right there is that watch thing. The investigation was terribly mismanaged, and it's hard to ignore some of the reports, whether or not Scott's appearance of being guilty beyond a shadow of doubt is actually there. But I believe Scott thought he could outsmart the evidence and everyone else and the police, and I believe he thought he could sell a manure story, a fertilizer story, and get away with murder. The tapes of Scott talking to Amber at his wife's vigil. He was at his wife's vigil, calling Amber Fry, saying that he was at the Eiffel Tower. Now that's a new low right there. So I believe this fertilizer salesman tried to sell a story of fertilizer, and he got caught, and he thought he could outsmart everybody, and he didn't, and he got caught. And he's a waste of a human being, in my opinion, and he's where he needs to be, sitting in jail, rotting. And anybody that thinks he's guilty, this is my opinion, is ludicrous, and they're out of their minds. So that does it for this show, guys. I'm gonna let you guys go. Peace out, true believers, and remember, do something kind for somebody today. It leads to other acts of kindness. Peace out, true believers.